In case you missed our last episode of Life with the Polites MRL, Marriage, Relationships, and Love, here's what you missed. This evening's topic deals with, as always, what many of us in relationships have found that we found ourselves in, and equally important, that we've actually lived through by our own means and understanding and moving through life as its own. But our topic tonight is very intriguing and very challenging. And from the topic aspect, no one trashes your name more than someone who's afraid you'll tell people the truth. So how do we connect the dots with that? I want our family and friends to really think about this, that tough relationship breakups produce the truth. But it's the honesty behind it all that has the power that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. That's how we connect the dots. That's how we get to where we're going about people that go and trash our name. But let's get into it. Let's get into tonight's episode. Sometimes, and as I said earlier, we all have experienced this, but we want to experience a relationship in the way that it should. But sometimes we have to experience what we don't want in a relationship. And to come full circle, to come with the full understanding of what we do want, we experience tough relationships. Tough relationship breakups happen. Tough relationship breakups hurt. They hurt because, like any relationship, those relationships are real and they matter. A relationship is real and they matter. And they should matter to the both who are involved. But here's where we're going this evening in our topic. But in many cases, it matters more to one person than the other. It matters more to the one who suffered. It mattered more to the one who suffered the hurt and the damage caused by the breakup. And here's where I want to just sit and spend a little time and dive into the discussion a little bit, because what I said is very, very real, that relationships are real and they matter. And here's where I want us to really just spend a little time and talk about, because I truly believe for a lot of people, it's only real and it matters when they are getting what they want when they want it. That's when it's real to them. And unfortunately, that's not part of a relationship. That's not how the relationship comes together. That's not how compromises is. That's not how you form a relationship and grow. But we find ourselves living in a world today that takes a precedence on the relationship. It only matters to certain people as long as they're getting their way, as long as they're getting what they want. And I want us to understand something, that we've all taken the opportunity to sit back and learn for ourselves, that we learn a lot about people when they don't get their way. We see it for ourselves. We see it in motion when people don't get their way. And again, my opinion is that when the relationship is measured in that way, a falling away on one part of the relationship takes effect. A falling away. And what I mean by a falling away, I'm talking about the relationship opens a door to withdrawal and breaking off. And again, it's very unfortunate that we find ourselves a lot of the time in relationships or in positions of relationships when that happens, because it's true to the naked eye. And we put ourselves, or we find ourselves, where it leads to two people in the relationships now having to move through different stages of life adjustments. I want you to think about that. When the falling away starts because someone doesn't get what they want, it opens up a door. It opens up a door for withdrawal from someone because they didn't get what they want. It opens up the door for an attitude or a position to now starts to develop, to start breaking away from the relationship. And this opens up a door where the relationship now for both people go in different directions and stages for moving on. And again, this is where we are today. You got one person that deals with the shock of a breakup. Now, a breakup is all about pain. And if you've ever been through a breakup, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the shock and it's the pain that's tied together that now has an individual, he or she, now rethinking what happened. Because what leads now is for many people, they focus on the why. They focus on the what happened. But it's the pain that really introduced them into something that they didn't see coming. And it's something that we all that have been in relationships, we've experienced. Whereas on the other spectrum of the relationship, there is someone that probably have already found a solution to their reasons why the breakup was needed. So now, what's so disturbing about that? There is a lot that goes into this, but again, I opened with the saying that many of us has found ourselves in relationships that we've personally found ourselves living through this. We found ourselves facing a tough relationship breakup where we now have to refocus and ask ourselves some of the hard questions, while on the other side, it's business as usual on the other hand. And it makes many of us wonder if someone else was there all along. Because on the other side, while I'm dealing with my hurt, while I'm dealing with my pain, while I'm dealing with why, there is another part of the ex relationship that's found a solution on why they don't need to be a part of the relationship anymore. So how disturbing is that? How real is that? You know, we come and we grow in a relationship with a premise to grow together. And we've all been a part of this in our lives. And for many of us, we've found out that people's needs are addressed. And when their needs aren't addressed, that shows us a level to where we're comfortable or content with them. It's unfortunate, but that's a very strong statement of how life is in relationships. And it makes us even dig a little deeper in ourselves and really unscaling what type of relationship or person that we've been involved in. What I'm truly trying to get to and address is self-centeredness. That's what I'm saying. Because it's people's self-centeredness of not getting what they want that make them unhappy within a relationship. Sometimes. Not all the time, but I believe sometimes. And we live in a world with a lot of people who live with a false sense of entitlement. A false sense of entitlement. And here's a question to my family and friends, and I like us to talk about this a little bit if we can. What is it about people that make them believe that they're entitled to be better? Entitled for better, I should say. That if they can't get what they want, they feel entitled that they should. What makes people, and I can say that because it can be many things, but for many of us that have lived this life, that have actually experienced being in a relationship with someone that feels that they are entitled, it's a way to make you step back and really re-diagnose how far you've came. Because again, my perspective is that type of person is actually prioritizing themselves over the relationship. And that's where the part of, my opinion is that for a lot of people, when they get there, I believe they're making a mental decision that it's their way or nothing at all. So my viewers that are out there, my family, my friends that is out there, share with me if this is a real live story of been there, went through that. Leave a comment. Because as I mentioned earlier, many of us have found ourselves in relationships, tough relationships, where we've had to experience a lot of this and a lot of the ongoing of it. And we've faced with something that right now, when it's new, it's now a learning process. It's diagnosing, it's refocusing, it's paying attention of what, where, and how. And it brings us to the point to where we now have to really consider ourselves and our heart in the relationship. And it's something that many of us have to really truly understand and believe, that we found ourselves in a relationship with people that feel that they're entitled. People that have came into a relationship with a intention of growing, with an intention on belonging, and when things aren't in their behalf, in their favor, there's cracks in their armor that starts to appear of why they can't get what they want, why the situation is forming to one side of a relationship. As long as things are comfortable and content for them, there's always a state of happiness together. But when there's not, there is resistance. Relationships where people come in and really brutally, if things don't go their way, it falls apart. And the sad thing about it is there's a trend, there's a lifestyle of that. And what happens with a lot of people, again, I said before that we've all lived this. We've gotten into relationships not knowing this had already occurred in someone's life. We've became a number of someone that feel that they have an entitlement to life. We've become to a fact that once the relationship actually takes off, or our assumption that the relationship has taken off, that there's promise there, but it's all about timing of revealing what the intent is or the entitlement that they feel they should have. We've been in relationships where it has taken us blindly to actually formulate, this cannot be happening, and for this reason. People that explode when things don't go their way. I mentioned that for many of us, we've found out that people's needs need to be addressed. I don't say that in a crushing way, but that's part of what we've discovered in relationships getting us to this point. Because when they don't, we see another side of the person. And a lot of times what we see isn't attractive. Some of the times they become bullies. Some of the times they become resentful. Some of the times they come and we are forced with truly trying to understand, is this what I've gotten myself into? Because it's a cycle. And the cycle only calms down when they get their way. Again, we come to a point to where we have to really understand just where we are. There's time we experience these types of tough relationship breakup. And the nature of it all comes to our attention because slander now takes hold of it. Slander, the trashing of our names. The trashing of our names before the truth hits the streets. Again, we've lived this before. And when we really think about how it actually comes down in layers, it's all about portraying us as a person in such a way. The slander comes to trash our names before the truth hits. It's about portraying us in such a way that the guilt of this person doesn't feel so heavy. It doesn't feel heavy to them. It doesn't feel heavy for people that's in their circle. They're not feeling heavy toward them in regards of what could or did happen in the relationship. And what actually happens as this slander comes about is we discover that real situations expose the truth and hurt feelings. And we can talk about the truth all the time, but here's the reality, especially for those that are trying to escape the truth and try to portray people in a way in which they're not. The truth will always come out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who tries to hide it or who tries to stop it. It's all because, and when you really think about it, when we get to this point, and again, this is my opinion, it's because we didn't let another person change us to who we are to become who they wanted us to be or who they needed us to be. That's the real world that we're at. That's the real world in which we live in regards to relationship. And again, the trashing of someone's name is all about fault and blame. I said earlier, if we back it up, portraying what they're not and portraying who the person who suffered the damage is. And again, we can talk about it, but the reality is it's the cover up of the fault. It's the cover up of the blame. It's the cover up of even the shame. And I believe that people who do you wrong want to tell a different version of the breakup. They want to tell you a different version of the breakup. They want to play the victim. And let's keep in mind, it's easy to play the victim. Why? Because the victim doesn't change. The victim doesn't change. They pretend you're the bad person. They pretend you're the bad person so they don't feel guilty about the things that they've done. The crying wolf and playing the victim is huge. But then it's understanding and truly being able to see where we're going and how we got to get to where we got to go. But for most of us, we need to understand that it's all about the truth and where the truth is taking us. And for those that slander, those that have an intention to paint a picture or portray us a certain way, it's all about getting in front of the story. It's getting in front of the story and trying to control the narrative. I mean, when we sit back and truly look at the fullness of it, the truth doesn't mind being questioned, but a lie doesn't want to be challenged. And that's where a lot of us find ourselves. Or the victims who claim to be victims find themselves. They don't want to be challenged by the slander. They don't want to be challenged by the lies or what's being betrayed of what they haven't done. And we come to the point where we have to be strong in who we are and what we believe and what we feel and what will take us to a different level of what we're going through and experiencing. A lot of people don't believe that the things that come out their mouth really say a lot about who they are. They truly are what comes out of their mouth. And they paint the picture by those who truly know or understand truth. Truth will always be in a position to where it will achieve its objective. And where a lot of people fail to really understand and don't get it through is because they want to be able to be in a position to where they are not looked upon or betrayed as someone who would actually do what they've done. How do we actually live a life of going out the way to hurt someone when someone has been there for us, that wants to grow with us, someone that has committed themselves in a relationship to fairness, trust, and understanding? But we've come to the point where an entitled person feels much more. And I'm not saying that's the only antidote to how we arrive here. I'm not. But what I am choosing to believe is that many of our relationships don't get to this point without some type of negative defect. And the negative defect, in my opinion, supersedes the other. Whenever it's compatible, it's workable. When one supersedes the other, then that's more of the weight that someone wants to put on someone else just for them to sustain themselves in a relationship. Why is that? Why is being compatible and being strong and being able to see things for what they're truly worth really allow people to truly understand why they're not? Why do people come and uncompose themselves and really feel a way that they are in the midst of something that's dominating, that they feel that they have to dominate someone and understand that they want what they want in a relationship? Why do people feel, I said this earlier, and I really would like our audience and our family to leave us a note of why certain people feel so entitled in relationships. Is it their background? Is it their looks? Is it what they endured in the past? I'm not saying that's the answer to everything, but what I am saying, there is a slide that promotes this to fall upon people that truly are in a relationship to provide understanding, care, commitment, and loyalty, and a whole bunch of other things, that they're under the assumption that that's where the relationship is headed. And we come to the point in the relationship now that, especially in today's relationship realm, that if we're not careful and if we're not wise enough, self-centeredness hides itself. It picks a time and an opportunity to show itself. And I'm not saying this is in every relationship. I'm not. But what I am saying, that we all have lived and went through tough relationship breakups. And I truly believe tough relationship breakups just don't happen. I'm not saying they're planned. I'm just saying they just don't happen without a natural eye of compassion and compromise for each other to understand what exactly is going on. I just don't believe it just happens. And we get to this point because I believe there is one side that does not experience the shock of a breakup, and there's another side that doesn't experience the actual pain of the relationship. Someone that has to actually find themselves in a conversation, and I'm just painting a picture here. Someone that has to find themselves in a conversation, being in a conversation that's being told that this relationship, for whatever reasons, we've come to an end because, and for many of us that have lived with hurt, that have experienced tough relationship breaks up, I can tell you that that's very hard to swallow. Because first you want to ask yourself, what did you do? But the premise of it is that it's not that something that you did, it's something that now is being revealed, because the undertow of it is that you didn't become what someone wanted in regards to their needs and their wants. You didn't allow yourself to become not just a partner that can grow and flourish in a relationship. You didn't become someone that when they need something, you didn't comply. You didn't offer up their happiness when they wanted it. And now they're condemned to the fact that if they can't get what's needed for them to be in this relationship, it's elsewhere for them to go and get it. And I say that unfortunately because we find ourselves in a lot of breakup pain. And for those that have lived in breakup pain, I can tell you that it's very uncomfortable. I can tell you that embracing breakup pain takes you to a place to where you really analyze everything you thought, everything that you said, how you lived in the relationship. And not saying that we all don't do that, but we come to the point to we truly understand the why. It never was you. It was the intent to change you into someone that you're not, to change you to be able to comply to the needs, the wants, and desires of someone that felt that they're entitled. Now, I I by no means choose to throw anyone under the bus in regards of not being able to communicate effectively in a way in which things are discussed or things come about. What my concern about this topic is, as I mentioned earlier, we deal with a lot of people with a false sense of entitlement. I'm going to say that because having lived through and experienced it, it's real. It's real. And again, a lot of the falsehood has nothing to do about the person that has to deal with the hurt, has nothing to do with the person that's collecting the damage and the suffering of the ex relationship. It has nothing to do with it. The entitlement is their self-centeredness and the things that enabled them to feel a certain way about themselves. Now, that can be many things and that can be many challenges, but we found ourselves in areas in our lives where this is to be true. And we come to that point when we truly have to understand what's next in our lives. What's next when we're confronted with the slander? And like I mentioned before, it's all about getting out in front of the story. It's all about controlling the narrative. It's all about playing the victim. And I absolutely say this with all the sincereness of my heart. It's easy for people to play the victim. Why? Because the victim doesn't have to change. It's BAU. It's business as usual all over again, just to the next person in a relationship. And we have to be aware of this. We have to be aware of this. This can be the cause of no fault of our own, but as we've all learned, that relationships teach us a lot of lessons. And the lessons aren't to the fact that it brings us down, but it brings us up. It brings us to the level in which we've been able to experience some things that life has opened our eyes up to. And we've now been able to sense behavior. We come to the point where we can truly understand and develop what people are saying. there's something true that if you listen to a person, they will tell you exactly who they are. All you have to do is listen. They will explain to you their mindset, their attitude, and their behavior will reveal themselves. All you have to do is listen. And I think a lot of us find ourselves missing that course because we want to see something that doesn't exist. We're captivated and wanting to make a relationship functional. We want a relationship that works. We want a relationship that we can grow and mature in. And we miss the attention to detail of listening. We've all been there. We've all been there. We've all been there. And we come to the point where we truly have to understand that when we get to the point where the slander has taken us to a level, not that we have to defend ourselves, because like I said earlier, the truth doesn't mind being questioned. We don't have to defend that. But what we do have to do is come to the point to where we can effectively speak the truth and not allow the pain, the hurt, or the damage appear to have rocked us. That's the strength of overcoming. Because we've all lived it. We've all had to live it. And when we're confronted in this way, this is how we deal with the slander. This is how we deal with people trashing our name because they're trying to control the narrative. That happens to us all. And if we lie dormant, we'll be walked upon. But it's the strength to understand that, hey, we have to acknowledge the truth, deal with the truth, and then go forth and not control a narrative, just speak the truth. I said before, a lot of the reasons, and this is my personal opinion, a lot of the reasons people come on the back end to slander people, I believe it's because of three things. It's because of their fault that they feel that they've done wrong in a relationship. It's the blame that they're trying to hide from. And I truly believe, and again, this is my opinion, it's the shame. It's the shame. People who know who you are. I mentioned earlier that we have people that we don't, a lot of the times we've came into relationships and we don't know what we don't know. Or it takes time for us to really discover what we didn't know. And a lot of the past that now beholds a person slowly starts to reveal itself. That's how we get small bits and pieces of what's manifesting at our very sight. And we get there, and we've all gotten there. That's when I believe the focus and the attention to detail becomes more strong. And we understand that we have to be able to stand and not allow ourselves to become what we're not. We are be able to stand and be able to communicate in a way that this is how the compromise, the healthy relationship goes along. I believe that many of us that have been matured by relationships truly understand exactly what I'm talking about. Because our maturity of going through relationships have taught us an enormous amount of lessons. Not that we've arrived, but we've become aged. We've become wiser. And we've been able to listen and become aware of whom we are and not what we're going to become to keep somebody. And that's where a lot of us have to decide to get stronger at. Because that's how we're not going to avoid the pain. Because I think we all will agree that when someone in a relationship has made a mental mind that I'm not getting what I want out of a relationship, they're going to leave. They're going to pick their spots. They're going to pick a timing. They're going to pick a subject. They're going to pick an opportunity, and they're going to be a falling away. Because what they want, they're not feeling, they're not getting. And whether or not they're entitled or not, that's not how a relationship works. We've all been there. We've all been there. And we've all lived a life to where we've been on the other end, where people have actually prioritized themselves over a relationship. But we've also come to the point to where we've discovered whom we are in a relationship and how we're going to grow and how we're going to continue to mature in a way that's best for the relationship. I think we all agree that it takes two to form a relationship. No one can keep someone in a relationship if they want to leave. But the forming of the relationship in a way in which there are values, where there's trust and understanding, with a true mind of doing what is right, is something we all can stand on. And the reflection of that is what we're poised to do when people slander our name. Everything I just said poise us in a posture that when people slander our name, we can stand on that. Because people have seen who we are. People have seen how we go about life in its entirety. And those are the things that we have to harness on. So those are the things that really help us move through the tough relationship breakup and form us in a way in which we're wiser. We never stop learning. We never stop learning. And we're never going to stop meeting people in a sense that we are going to, sadly to say, walk away with lessons learned. We get wiser. We age in a way in which we become a sense to, we can see what the journey ahead may look like, and we make decisions. A lot of us have been to that point where we've decided just casually that it's not worth it. Some people say if it's too good to be true, let it go. If it's too good to be true, or if it shines like gold, it's not real. And I said from the outskirts that a relationship is real because it matters. It matters on two people, not one getting their way. A relationship is real because it matters. People matter when they come together and they come to an agreement that this is what they are going to build toward. I think we all will agree that there's a lot of reconstruction when we've been placed in a position where stages of life adjustments are now needed after a bad breakup. I truly believe we understand that we've lived that. And that's a way of us understanding that we still have a lot of promise in our lives, but we come to the point to where our decision making has to be better. And we have to come to the point to where we're earnestly looking at ourselves to grow and not depending on someone else to help us grow. The hard work for self starts with self. You make yourself happy because you put yourself in the position to do the things that manifest you to be the person that you want to be. And those are the qualities, those are the characteristics that people see in growth. But then on the other side, people are attracted to people that really, really are targeted on making themselves a beautiful person, a happy person. We have to be mindful that the things in which we choose to pursue are the things that are compatible of whom we are and the things that are going to help us become a better person. And one of the things that I want to leave our family and friends with is that we've come to the point a lot of the time that we've experienced what we don't want in a relationship, but we come to the full understanding of what we do want. And that knowing what you do want and what takes you to another level in yourself, in your maturity, and understanding where you're going and what you will allow and what you won't.